Welcome to Inner Light, esoteric wisdom for the soul's ascent. In the sacred space between the known and the unknown, where divine secrets whisper in silent echoes, lies the realm of esoteric wisdom. Embark on Gnosticism, an ancient quest for divine knowledge and its enduring legacy. Gnosticism, a term derived from the Greek word gnosis, meaning knowledge or insight, represents one of the most enigmatic and influential religious and philosophical movements in human history. Emerging in the late 1st century CE amid a swirling confluence of Jewish, Christian, Hellenistic, and Persian ideas, Gnosticism is not a singular religion, but a diverse collection of sects and systems united by a core belief. Salvation comes not through faith alone, ritual or moral conduct, but through esoteric, intuitive knowledge of the divine. This gnosis reveals the true nature of reality, exposing the material world as a flawed creation of a lesser deity and offering a path to liberate the divine spark within humanity. From an esoteric perspective, Gnosticism embodies the eternal human struggle against illusion, ignorance, and cosmic entrapment, drawing parallels to mystical traditions worldwide while challenging orthodox religious structures. At its heart, Gnosticism posits a radical dualism, the spiritual realm of light and perfection versus the material world of darkness and imperfection. The supreme unknowable God, often called the monad or bythos, emanates a series of divine beings known as eons, forming the pleroma, fullness, a harmonious divine realm. However, a flaw in this emanation, typically attributed to the aeon Sophia, wisdom, leads to the creation of the Demiurge, an ignorant or malevolent craftsman who fashions the physical universe as a prison for divine sparks trapped in human souls. Salvation or redemption involves awakening to this gnosis, ascending through layers of cosmic archons, rulers, and returning to the pleroma. This worldview profoundly influenced early Christianity, philosophy, and modern thought, yet it was branded heretical, leading to its suppression and underground survival. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi library in 1945 revolutionized our understanding, unearthing texts like the Gospel of Thomas and Apocryphon of John, which reveal Gnosticism's diversity and depth. Influential figures such as Valentinians, Basilidians, and Mani shaped its doctrines, while its echoes resonate in literature, psychology, notably Carl Jung, and new religious movements. This talk delves into Gnosticism's history, beliefs, texts, figures, and influence, exploring its esoteric dimensions and why it remains a perennial heresy in the modern age. Through this lens, we uncover not just an ancient heresy, but a timeless pursuit of divine insight amid existential chaos. Gnosticism's appeal lies in its empowering epistemology. Humans possess an innate divine potential accessible through personal revelation rather than institutional mediation. In a world of suffering, it offers an explanation. The material cosmos is a mistake, and a remedy, Nosis as liberation. Yet this knowledge is elitist, reserved for the pneumatics, spiritual ones, distinguishing them from psychics, soul-bound, and hylics, material-bound. Philosophically, it critiques conventional religion, viewing Orthodox Christianity's God as the Demiurge, a false creator, and Jesus as a revealer of hidden truths, rather than a sacrificial redeemer. Its dualistic cosmology, blending Platonism with Eastern mysticism, posits the material world as evil or illusory, created by archons who guard the soul's ascent. Modern interpretations, from Jung's psychological archetypes to New Age spirituality, see Gnosticism as a metaphor for self-realization. In literature, authors like Philip K. Dick explored Gnostic themes of simulated realities, while philosophers like Eric Voegelin critiqued Gnostic ideologies in politics. As we proceed, we'll trace this thread from ancient origins to contemporary relevance, illuminating why Gnosticism endures as a radical challenge to conventional worldviews. Historical origins, from Hellenistic Syncretism to early Christian heresy. Gnosticism's roots are deeply embedded in the fertile soil of the Hellenistic world, where Jewish mysticism, Greek philosophy, Persian dualism, and emerging Christianity intermingled in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE. Scholars debate its precise origins, with some, like Simone Petremont and David Brackey, arguing it arose within early Christianity, influenced by Paul's letters and the Gospel of John, which emphasize spirit over flesh. Others, such as Gershom Scholem and Gilles Quispel, trace it to non-rabbinical Jewish sects, with roots in Alexandrian Jewish thought and mystical traditions like those in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Ethel S. Drower suggests heterodox Judaism in Galilee and Samaria, while influences from Persian Zoroastrianism, dualism of light and darkness, and even Buddhism have been proposed, though direct links are tenuous. The term Gnosticism is modern, coined by Henry More in 1669, but ancient groups called themselves Gnostikoi, or claimed superior knowledge. It flourished in Alexandria, a cultural crossroads, blending Platonic ideas of ideal forms with Jewish monotheism and Christian soteriology. Middle Platonism, with its emphasis on a transcendent God and flawed matter, provided epistemological foundations, while Zoroastrian dualism shaped its cosmology. By the 2nd century, Gnostic sects proliferated, competing with proto-Orthodox Christianity in the religious marketplace. The movement peaked between the 2nd and 4th centuries, with sects like Sethians and Valentinians active in Egypt, Syria, and Rome. Church fathers like Irenaeus, circa 180 CE, in Adversus Hereses, catalogued and condemned Gnostic teachings, portraying them as heresies invented by figures like Simon Magus. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi codices in 1945, containing 52 texts buried in the 4th century, likely to hide from persecution, provided primary sources, revealing Gnosticism's diversity and challenging earlier views based solely on heresiologists. Gnosticism's origins reflect a response to existential questions. Why evil? Why suffering? It offered an answer. The world is flawed because its creator is imperfect, and true divinity lies beyond. This syncretic nature made it adaptable but also vulnerable to suppression, as it threatened established religious authorities. By the 3rd century, with Constantine's conversion, Gnostic groups like Manichaeans faced imperial bans, driving them underground or to the east. Medieval revivals, such as the Cathars in 12th century France, echoed Gnostic dualism, viewing the Catholic Church as the Demiurge's tool, leading to the Albigensian Crusade, 1209 to 1229, that eradicated them. In Persia, Manichaeism, founded by Mani, 216 to 276 CE, blended Gnostic elements with Zoroastrianism, Buddhism, and Christianity, spreading to China and influencing later dualistic movements. Mandaeism, a surviving Gnostic sect in Iraq and Iran, emphasizes baptism and rejects Jesus as a false Messiah, tracing its origins to John the Baptist. These origins highlight Gnosticism's resilience, adapting to cultural contexts while maintaining core themes of alienation and redemption. The historical trajectory shows Gnosticism as a product of late antiquity's intellectual ferment, where philosophy met mysticism. Plato's cave allegory, with shadows as illusions, resonates with Gnostic views of the material world as a deceptive prison. Influences from Orphism, with its emphasis on soul liberation, and mystery religions like those of Isis, added ritualistic elements. By the 2nd century, Gnostic teachers like Valentinus nearly became Bishop of Rome, illustrating its infiltration into early church structures. Scholars like Adolf von Harnack saw Gnosticism as the acute Hellenization of Christianity, a synthesis that threatened orthodoxy by reinterpreting Jesus as a Gnosis bringer, rather than incarnate God. Recent scholarship, post-Nag Hammadi, views it as a biblical demiurgic tradition, a broad category encompassing diverse groups united by critiques of the Creator God. This historical foundation sets the stage for understanding its sects and doctrines, revealing Gnosticism as a radical alternative to mainstream religions, born from a desire for direct divine encounter. Major sects and influential figures, diversity in the Gnostic landscape. Gnosticism's diversity is evident in its sects, categorized into Judean Israelite, Syriac Egyptian, and Persian branches. The Syriac Egyptian school includes Sethianism, Valentinianism, Basilidians, and Thomasine traditions, blending Platonic philosophy with Christian themes. Sethians, named after Seth, Adam's 3rd son, viewed him as a divine archetype with texts like the Apocryphon of John, depicting the Demiurge's creation as a parody. Valentinians, founded by Valentinus c. 100 to 180 CE, were intellectually sophisticated, positing a monistic cosmology where materiality is perceptual error, with eons in syzygies, pairs emanating from the bythos. Valentinus, a poet and theologian, nearly elected pope, taught that Gnosis reveals the divine hierarchy, with Christ as an eon, redeeming the fallen Sophia. Basilides, c. 117, 138 CE, active in Alexandria, founded the Basilidians, emphasizing a pessimistic view of the world as corrupt, ruled by the God of the Jews as Demiurge. His system involved 365 heavens, with salvation through indifference to bodily impulses. Marcion, c. 85, 160 CE, though not strictly Gnostic, influenced the movement with his dualism, a good God of the New Testament versus the just God of the Old. He rejected the Old Testament, creating a canon of Luke's Gospel and Paul's epistles. Persian Gnosticism includes Manichaeism, founded by Mani, who blended Gnostic dualism with Zoroastrianism, seeing light and darkness as co-eternal forces, with humanity aiding light's ascent through asceticism. Mandaeans, a surviving sect, emphasize ritual baptism and view John the Baptist as their prophet, rejecting Jesus. Other sects, Ophites, serpent worshippers, revered the serpent as wisdom bringer. Cainites honored Cain as rebel against the Demiurge, and Carpocratians advocated libertinism to transcend laws. Medieval Cathars in Europe echoed Gnostic dualism, dividing into perfecti, ascetics, and believers, viewing the world as Satan's creation, leading to their extermination in the 13th century. Influential figures include Simon Magus, 1st century, considered the first Gnostic, accused of sorcery in Acts, founding a sect with Helen as Sophia incarnate. Corinthus blended Jewish law with Gnostic Docetism, denying Christ's divinity. Later, Bogomils in Bulgaria propagated dualism, influencing Cathars. These sects and figures illustrate Gnosticism's fragmentation, united by Gnosis but varying in dualism's intensity and ethical approaches, from asceticism to antinomianism. Their diversity reflects adaptation to local cultures, yet all challenge the Demiurge's authority, seeking transcendence through knowledge. Key beliefs and doctrines, the core of Gnostic thought. Gnostic doctrine revolve around a sophisticated cosmology, epistemology, and soteriology, blending myth and philosophy. Central is the Demiurge, a flawed creator, Yaldabaoth or Saklas, who fashions the material world as a parody of the divine pleroma. In the Apocryphon of John, the Demiurge boasts, "I am God and there is no other God beside me," ignorant of higher realms. Gnosis is the salvific knowledge, a mystical insight revealing humanity's divine origin and the world's illusion. It contrasts with pistis, faith, criticized as insufficient. Gnosis is experiential, awakening the divine spark. The material world is evil or bad, a prison ruled by archons, with salvation as escape through Gnosis. Cosmology involves emanations from the monad. Aeons like Barbelo, first thought, generate the pleroma. But Sophia's error births the Demiurge. Dualism varies. Radical in Manichaeism, light versus darkness co-eternal, mitigated in classic Gnosticism, monistic in Valentinianism. Eschatology envisions soul ascent post-death, battling archons with passwords from Nosis, returning to pleroma. Ethical implication ranges from asceticism, rejecting matter, to libertinism, transcending laws, with Basilidians advocating indifference. Gender roles often elevate the feminine, with Sophia as key, and texts like the Gospel of Mary portray women as disciples. These beliefs critique Orthodox theology, viewing the biblical God as Demiurge, Jesus as Eon Revealer. Gnosticism's doctrines offer a profound alternative. The world is not God's good creation, but a flawed construct. Salvation not through sacrifice, but through knowledge. This esoteric framework influenced later mysticism, challenging hierarchies and empowering individual revelation. Important texts, windows into Gnostic wisdom. Gnostic texts, often apocryphal, provide mythic narratives and teachings. The Nag Hammadi Library, 13 codices with 52 texts, includes Sethian works like the Apocryphon of John, Demiurge's creation myth, and Valentinian texts like the Gospel of Truth. The Gospel of Thomas, with 114 sayings of Jesus, emphasizes inner kingdom. The kingdom is inside of you. and it is outside of you. Other texts: Gospel of Mary, Mary Magdalene's visions, Gospel of Philip, sacramental mysticism, and hypostasis of the archons, archon mythology. Mandaean scriptures like Ginza Rabbah describe cosmic dualism. These Coptic translations from Greek originals reveal Gnosticism's scriptural creativity, reinterpreting canonical texts esoterically. Artifacts like Gnostic gems and amulets, with symbols like the Ouroboros or Abraxas, 365-day god, reflect cosmology in material culture. The Nag Hammadi discovery, near ancient monasteries, suggests monastic preservation or hiding from persecution. These texts, blending myth and philosophy, underscore Gnosis as key to unlocking divine secrets, influencing later esoteric traditions. Relationship to Christianity and other religions, syncretism and conflict. Gnosticism arose alongside Christianity, often with infinite, reinterpreting Jesus as a gnosis bringer. Texts like John 3:3, born again, echo Gnostic rebirth through knowledge. Yet it was deemed heretical for docetism, Christ's illusory body, and rejecting the Old Testament God. Church fathers like Irenaeus and Tertullian refuted it as knowledge falsely so called. Influences from Judaism, mystical texts like Enoch, Platonism, transcendent forms, and Zoroastrianism, dualism, are evident. Parallels with Buddhism, illusion of world enlightenment, are noted but not direct. Manichaeism was syncretized with Buddhism in Asia. This syncretism enriched Gnosticism but fueled conflicts, leading to its marginalization. Historical suppression and condemnation. From heresy to oblivion, Gnosticism was suppressed by the Church, labeled heresy by Irenaeus in Adversus Hereses, cataloging sects like the Valentinians. Emperors like Constantine banned Manichaeans, with Theodosius I, 381 CE, outlawing heresies. Medieval Inquisition targeted Cathars, viewing them as Manichaean heirs. Condemnation stemmed from pantheism, dualism, and rejection of creation's goodness. Yet suppression preserved fragments in refutations, aiding modern reconstruction. Influence on philosophy, literature, psychology, Gnostic echoes. In modernity, Gnosticism profoundly influenced philosophy, with Plotinus critiquing it while adopting emanationism. In literature, Blake's Urizen mirrors the Demiurge, and Dick's Valis explores simulated realities. Jung saw Gnosticism as archetypal, with the Demiurge as the shadow self, and Gnosis as individuation. His 7 Sermons to the Dead channels Basilidians, viewing God as Abraxas, good, evil unity. Manichaeism influenced Augustine, who later refuted it, shaping Western dualism. Cathars impacted medieval mysticism, with echoes in troubadour poetry. In culture, Gnostic themes appear in films like The Matrix, Illusory World, and psychology as a metaphor for alienation. Modern interpretations and revivals. Gnosticism in the 21st century, contemporary Gnosticism, revives through Ecclesia Gnostica and Theosophy, with Blavatsky linking it to Eastern mysticism. Neo-Gnostic groups emphasize personal gnosis, blending with New Age ideas. Philosophers like Voegelin critiqued Gnostic modernity as escapist ideologies. In psychology, it's a model for self-discovery. Revivals include Mandaeans and modern sects, with Gnosticism's appeal in an age of disillusionment. Conclusion: the timeless allure of Nosis. Gnosticism, with its call to awaken divine knowledge amid cosmic flaws, remains a beacon for seekers. From ancient sects to modern minds, it challenges illusions, offering liberation through insight. Though suppressed, its legacy endures in philosophy, art, and spirituality, reminding us that true salvation lies in knowing the self as divine. As Jung noted, Gnosticism is unconscious psychology in full flower, a perennial path to transcendence. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Thank you.